So we have another special guest today, Andy Breunig, Area Director for the Greater Bay Area. Hi, Andy.
Good morning. I am so humbled right now. I have the opportunity to join from the Out of the Darkness San Francisco experience, and for the first time ever for me, but also I think for the first time ever with Out of the Darkness Arcata, I'm able to be in two spaces simultaneously and get to celebrate with you all. And was able to join with enough time to get to hear Cecilia and Chelsea's words. And so before I say anything else, I want to just say that I am so outstandingly humbled to be invited to share the stage with the two of them. The lived experience, the cultural experience, the social injustices that have carried forward for centuries at this point are complex challenges to unthread, and I am humbled to know that advocates and allies such as Cecilia and Chelsea are so outstandingly prepared to take that on and carry that forward in unity, in unison. So before I said anything else, I wanted to say that. As Heather mentioned, my name is Andy Breunig, and I'm the Area Director for the Greater Bay Area with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. What that means is that I oversee efforts in 16 counties covering what I would call Northwest California, but I want to acknowledge that not all of the peoples who are a part of this ceremony would call it that. I'm not actually here today to talk about myself. I'm here today to talk about us. And that's because Out of the Darkness is a special time for all of us. It is an intense space for all of us. And because regardless of where we began our journeys, regardless of the paths that we have walked that brought us here today, we are here now and we are here together, and we as a community are stronger for it. And I want to acknowledge as well that none of the paths that any of us have had to walk to get here has been easy. There's been times where it's extraordinarily difficult to see the way forward, to see the path forward. And it's some extraordinary combination of stubbornness and anger and grief and hope and happiness and laughter that has illuminated that path for us so that we can take those individual steps one day after the other. And I am so deeply thankful that we are able to share this space and create this space. Today, as we've been navigating the Out of the Darkness Arcata, we've seen incredible photos. We have heard outstandingly moving stories and memories and experiences. And in that togetherness of the experience itself, what I have heard is a single message. And I encourage you to listen for it as well as we continue, or if you come back and watch this event again. And that message is that we are not alone. That to the survivor of suicide loss, we wear our beads with you. You are not alone. To the students who are Humboldt State, to the students that are high school, middle school, logged in today, one, thank you for logging in. Two, if you are discovering that there is something more than sad, I want you to know you are not alone. There's an incredible community of suicide prevention advocates and allies in Humboldt. To the person that's here today who's facing their own challenges and their own thoughts of suicide, know this: you are not alone. There are outstanding resources. Reach out. Some of those resources are supported by AFSP. Some are supported by the indigenous peoples up in Humboldt area. There are outstanding resources. I encourage you, use every one of them. You are not alone. We are a community that is stronger together. So again, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Cecilia, I want to say for sharing your lived experience. It was humbling to get to hear your family's navigation of from loss through grief and into today, where grief is always there, but success, perseverance is there as well. I want to say thank you to Chelsea for calling out so truly and frankly, pulling any pretense of a woolen cover over our eyes away, and directly and immediately acknowledging some of the many challenges that we are facing as a society to overcome the challenges of suicide. We cannot do it if we don't call the problems out like you've done. So I am so deeply appreciative, and it was so moving to get to hear that. I want to say thank you to every single person that's logged in today, whether it's Facebook, whether it's on Twitch, wherever it is. And when we're watching this in a month and we're watching this in a year, I want to say thank you to everybody for stepping forward and being a part of this community. And I want to say thank you to our survivors of suicide loss support groups, those folks that are hosting the groups. And I want to say thank you to the people who are attending those survivors of suicide loss support groups. It shows us more clearly than we are able to understand. You are not alone. But mostly today, I wanted to say, before I say that, I also wanted to thank Heather Freitas for inviting me to join. I wanted to say thank you to Daniel for being the master behind the scenes, being the maestro. But again, I just want to take my final moment to say thank you all for participating with Out of the Darkness with us as we work together to stop suicide forever.
And you know what? Thank you, Andy.
It's such a pleasure. It is, I mean, as both Cecilia and Chelsea were speaking, I said to myself, I was like, oh crap, what am I going to do? These two people have just brought it to the table and just been outstanding. So I love to eat some humble pie, and boy, this group today has really helped me do that.
Cool. Yeah, our event's pretty amazing every year. So hopefully, hopefully we can have a physical one next year. It's okay if not, because now we've figured it out, and that you'll be able to join us again. I do want to say, yeah, I would love for you to come. Andy really helps make AFSP work possible in Humboldt County, and I just want to make sure you know that, Andy. We really appreciate you. So.
I love to hear that. I'm so appreciative to hear that, and I'm going to reflect again because Heather, who's hosting with me right now, Rob England, who we got to see a photo of during the Hope Bead ceremony, which was so moving. There are such incredible advocates up in Humboldt. I'm down in Sunnyvale, for those who are curious. I don't know the name of the indigenous peoples who lived here before I did and continue to live here with me. So I'm going to look that up today. I will find that out today. But it is a pleasure to get to work with the Humboldt Suicide Prevention Network, to get to work with Rob, identifying and understanding the state of emergency that the UROC have identified over the last few years. And, we have so much more to do. Just understanding the problem is phase 1, phase 0, phase -1. We need to understand the depth and breadth of the challenges that we're facing. And I'm honored to get to be a part of that. And I am so glad that this table that we all sit at is so large and that we're so actively encouraging more voices to the table, because AFSP is they are an expert in some areas, but we would be remiss to think that we are an expert in all areas. And so instead of acting as gatekeepers, it's my vision and my goal that we act as co-creators, as collaborators, and that we ensure that we are continuing to make that table that is the discussion, is the action, is the engagement of suicide prevention, ensuring that the stigma is eroded, not when we learn about what suicide is, not when we're already in a space of crisis, but that we as a community are comfortable having these conversations with our children, with our community of students, and teaching them there is something that's more than sad, and it's okay to feel it, but it's also okay to feel comfortable coming to an adult or a guardian or a parent and acknowledging it, because we can help provide the tools and resources as at 5 or at 10 to help navigate the challenges by eroding the stigma. You know, if you're 15, 16 going through high school and are facing depression for the first time, it's too late for us to start the conversation. We need to have started it earlier. Mm-hmm. When a veteran is, you know, approaching a moment of crisis, that's not the time for us to start talking about, hey, maybe you should separate from your firearm or keep your ammunition stored elsewhere. We need to start these conversations earlier by being proactive and not reactive. So it's going to be an ongoing and outstanding challenge for us to all overcome. But I want to highlight the moment that Chelsea mentioned, in that they look forward to the day when the definition of suicide is updated in the dictionaries, because it's an obsolete term. It's an obsolete understanding. I look forward to that day as well. And I'm really thankful that I get to, you know, join arm in arm with Chelsea and with Cecilia and with you, Heather, and with the entirety of the Humboldt community and the greater Bay Area community and the national community as we strive forward to do that.
For sure. Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us, Andy. And I appreciate your reflections too on what an incredible job our speakers did.
Oh,
just amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, with 5 minutes notice. No, I'm kidding. It didn't happen this year. But so again, everyone, thank you for joining us today and for supporting the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.